things for the client. And then as they become leaders in the organization, what they end up spending a lot of time on is finding resources to pay the team who's going to serve the clients. So if you can appreciate that perspective, that can also help you have a little bit of sympathy for those people who sometimes aren't hearing all of your great ideas.
That both of those, both of your suggestions and your input is really excellent and spot on, and I'm listening to it from just personally and my perspective of working through it. And I find myself, even as I asked the question, it was interesting because I can, see myself where some of my team has actually come to me with ideas on things, and I've, been resistant to them. And it is very, very hard to, pull yourself out of that environment. So, the one thing that would absolutely resonate with me is exactly what you're both speaking to, which is someone coming and, educating me almost, if you will, engaging me to get on board with what they're thinking about. Because I do have this whole list of things that I have to respond to. And if someone is coming in more solution-based, along with, here's what the challenge is, or here's what the opportunity is, and they present opportunities for the solutions, I know from just my personality that I'm a lot quicker to respond because they've not added something to my plate, which is really, difficult. And that's part of the challenge as well that I know, and, JMT has struggled with for a number of years is, what we call that drama triangle that, Jackie and the Davidoff strategies introduced to us, which is, the rescuer and the prosecutor and the victim. And that was, rampant at the JMT and I was leading it as the leader. I was setting the tone for my organization without even realizing that I was doing this. And so I think, everything we're talking about here is actually really, really valuable. Jackie, I didn't know if you were going to maybe speak to that or at what point you thought would be good.
I
love this. I'm passionate about this.
So we are going into the drama triangle. So as Jackie mentioned, we brought this work into JMT as a way of helping them name their culture, in the sense that all organizations, we really want to set the stage, have elements of drama in them. I think you all have an instinctive and the problem with drama is not that it's there, because it will always be there, but it is let me just set the stage here. So in organizations, all organizations have people who fall into one of three roles and can often rotate in between. So there's the persecutor. So you can imagine those are the people who are authoritarian, demanding, sort of punishing in their tone. There are the rescuers who, I'm going to fix your problems that you've come in and told me about, but I'm not going to take responsibility for addressing what I see as not working in our organization. And then you have the victims, who are people who just position themselves as, there's nothing I can do, this is too much for me, and I'm not capable. So the point is to recognize drama in yourself with humor and in other people, and see how there is a number of tools that we taught the JMT team about how to notice culture, to be aware of it, and then what to do about it, so that you are, in our mission-driven conversations, you're focusing on mission, you're focusing on your responsibility as a leader to drive mission, rather than get caught up in gossiping about so-and-so, or bad-mouthing so-and-so, or withdrawing yourself in meetings or conversations, or being passive-aggressive. Or there are a number of ways that this plays out, and I think we all see this at different points in ourselves. So the point with drama is that we teach a whole curriculum in, noticing it in yourself, and then what it leads to is, I think you can show the next slide, Kim. When you start to be aware as a culture that you have drama, you know, we can ask ourselves these questions. How often is there drama in your organization? What is the cost? Drama kills mission because you're focused on things that are external to you, and you're focused on, you know, blaming, shaming, and justifying your actions rather than driving mission. And what would it be like to have a drama-free culture? Can you imagine cultures and teams, which JMT is increasingly becoming, focused on we are all here together toward what we're here to serve our clients in, which is awesome. So you can skip, we'll just go through these super quick because I think this is really important. You can go to the next one. So the steps to escaping the drama triangle, if you can go back one, Kim. Nope, go back to number 1. Can you go back to 1, Kim?
Yes, sorry. It's, hold on.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay, we'll do the waiting music.
Okay.
Do, 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 do,
Sorry.
do, do.
No, that's okay. Well, I can share that, you know, Jackie mentioned about JMT and myself personally working in the drama. And, you know, CEO founded the company, and I, as I said earlier, was flipping between all 3 roles. And, you know, I would be the persecutor because I'd be like, you know, why isn't this done? Why didn't this happen? You know, what's the issue? I would be the rescuer. Oh, here, I can do it. Just let me take care of it. And then I would also be the victim. Why do I have to do this? Why is it all coming on my plate? And it was just amazing the difference it makes in your organization, just a little bit of self-awareness about that. And so huge.
Great, thank you, Jackie. So can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So drama, the work to move out of the drama triangle is awareness and responsibility. Start to tune into this. You will see this amazingly in all kinds of situations within the workplace, but also your family. Look at the roles. Identify the roles you and others are playing. So this is a self-awareness game. Consider that the drama may be yours. And then look at how everyone contributes to the drama. It's really easy to do. That's why creating culture and creating principles that you want to operate by is really important. Okay, Kim, you can skip to the next one. Number 2, how to escape. Name it to tame it. Identify the role and where those around you are in drama. So you can actually exaggerate this. You can, when you start to see like, oh, I'm doing that. Oh my gosh, there's no way I can do this. This is an impossible task. Like if you exaggerate it, it helps you sort of get out of the spell of your own drama. So creating a culture, you can imagine, where people call each other on their roles, themselves even, and others, is super healthy. And then again, have a sense of humor. And then we'll move on to number 3. Interrupt the pattern. So, you know, we talked a little bit about this, but even physically getting up. In our company, we do a lot of state changes. So when we feel ourselves going down, we're like, okay, everybody, 10 jumping jacks. Physicality is a great tool to stop drama because these are unconscious, habitual patterns that we fall into over and over, that we come by honestly from our childhoods. But the problem is that we tend to recreate them over and over as habits, habitual ways of being. So we're working on the self-awareness game to be aware and break ourselves. So you can move on to the next one. And then emotions. This is key. We talked earlier about emotional intelligence. Emotions drive cognition. So you can imagine, here's a real life example. Okay, withheld emotions lead to drama. It's really important to acknowledge the 5 primary emotions, which are hurt, sadness, fear, anger, and joy. So as an example of how drama happens real time, somebody might be walking toward you in the hall and you want to say hi and they don't respond to you. So you go into your friend Joe's office and you say, or you call them up if you're in a virtual reality, and you say, wow, that guy is a so-and-so. Rather than being able to identify, wow, I want to talk to Joe and I felt hurt. oh, I wonder if something's going on. Usually he's friendly. I'm going to call him up and just say, hey, Joe, I noticed that you didn't respond to me. Is anything going on? So that's creating relationships that move toward each other, not away from each other. And in our parlance, that's creating transformational relationships in your culture versus transactional. Will you do this for me? Getting to know people, revealing yourself and getting to know more about them. That creates awesome organizations.
Thanks, Jackie. That's like perfect. And I can personally attest to this as well. So, you know,
we all have
about this, yes. So talking about all of, you know, this in terms of, you know, building up the staff and development and supporting culture and mission drivers, what are some other ways that staff, you have developed staff and working with staff and companies? And Emily, would you like to lead us off?
Sure, I would be happy to. And I see Juan Acosta is on this call, and he and I have worked together in the past. And so he will know my mantra, which is that everyone in the organization should get ongoing training and should learn about, as Jackie was saying, about the mission and have some relevant skills and knowledge. And he and I worked in an organization where we were shifting to client-centered practice for our clients. And I really pushed to make sure that every single person got some training, even if we weren't going to do it. I'm not dealing with clients, but I learned the language and I understood the principles, and I felt that was really important. And for other kinds of organizations, for example, when I worked with museums, when they would open a new exhibit, they would offer, a curator would lead a tour of the exhibit. And that was sort of both a perk for some of us who just love learning that stuff, but it was also an opportunity for the institution to share their perspective on what they were trying to teach and what they were trying to show with this exhibit. So I think creating that culture where people are always learning is really important, and always sharing and understanding the language and the mission of the organization.
So I'll speak about this both individually and organizationally, and obviously there's a tie between the two. I want you all to see that you are in a continual process of emergence as leaders. You're not, you know, my friend Kathy Gorshi is here from is from AIDS Foundation Chicago. And, you know, with Kathy, you know, Kathy is someone who is committed to her ongoing growth and development. She just doesn't come in and say, I'm done being, this is who I am and I'm done learning and growing. And so to the extent that you can see that you can actively intend to use your work environment, whether you're a CEO or a program officer, to develop yourself ongoingly in your leadership, to take the risks, to go to your brain trust and strategize, how can I make this happen, to continually challenge yourself and to be out of your comfort zone. It's really important to recognize that as leaders, we're only going to grow when we're willing to be uncomfortable. So developing, you know, having that intention, and you can imagine when teams have the intention to learn and grow and develop as learning cultures, big things happen in the organization. So, you know, our work when we're leading strategic planning, we're also developing learning cultures in organizations as we do it. So there's an interlacing of high potential organization, high potential individuals, and cultures. So when boards and leadership teams and you know, frontline people align around we are going to continually learn and grow together, it's very powerful. And we see this a lot with client organizations, nonprofits and foundations that we work with.
Very good, thank you. You know, I think that what you both have shared is exactly, you know, what I'm really aspiring to with my company. And it's very, very hard. It's not easy. It's not instinctual. It's work. And, but it is, you know, the little bit that we are accomplishing is so huge, and it absolutely is supporting the mission, you know, that JMT has. Like I can actually quantify the results from it. which is sort of counterintuitive, but it really is an amazing situation. So you know, I love it, and I love engaging and learning, and, you know, fostering that within, you know, the JMT organization. And so I agree with you both hugely. So, you know, being an accountant, I have to, of course, think about, you know, financials and the impact that being an accountant and being a financial-minded person is having. And so, you know, and I know every organization is going through the same thing. So, you know, do you have thoughts that you can share in terms of, you know, ways to communicate, ways to engage with your staff and board and things like that for, you know, for our organizations?
Well, it helps if you've been communicating something about your finances all along, because then you've been sharing opportunities and risks all along. And so that when some of these risks come into play, people are a little bit familiar with that. So I'm hoping that that's the situation, but I know that that's not always the situation. So that's on the communication side. It's also possible that you may be making some big decisions right now, right? You may be saying, we're in a financially reasonably robust position, and maybe we want to acquire some, you know, a merge or acquire another organization, or that would help us grow our geographical catchment area, or obtain a talented group of people that we wouldn't be able to get all at once. So if you're in that position, you really should be thinking about, you know, opportunities for you. And if you're in a more vulnerable position, you definitely would want to be thinking about what are your next steps, and also having those next steps move forward in a organized way. Like what? So, for example, I was reading about small colleges. Many small colleges are thinking about merging. So if that's something that your small college is thinking about, you're going to start by thinking about what are all our strengths and why would somebody perhaps want to acquire us? What do we have to offer? So start with strengths and think about what kind of package you offer, and then move forward in a constructive way. So whether you're, whatever position you're in, it's helpful to be in an ongoing position where you're communicating risks and challenges and opportunities. And now it might be a moment to take opportunities in either one direction or the other.
I mean,
Thanks,
Emily. Specifically for COVID, we're consulting with a lot of organizations around really seeing that there's a silver lining with COVID, much as, you know, especially many of our clients in public health and education are really challenged. But the way we look at it is that COVID is exposing gaps in our organizations, in ourselves as individuals and societally. And, you know, when we tend to look at like inventories of where organizations are mission challenged and when they're mission driven. So we recommend that, and you can do this for your organization, look at, we're calling it a COVID gap analysis, and look at, you know, leadership, board, fundraising, financials, and draw, you know, and in fact, draw a line, draw a table and articulate what is the present state of all of these different areas, and then what is the ideal state. And by articulating that and doing it, involve your teams, involve your staff, have this be a collaborative conversation, so that, because everyone has different perspectives, and it's really important for them all to be weighing into this from what they see. Who are the people who are dealing with the clients whom you serve? What are they observing? So that you're clear, here's our situation, here's the present state, and here's the ideal state. And then you can start to develop pathways, and again, have this be a collaborative process that you know, is facilitated to get everyone's opinion and input. And then, you know, another perspective that I think is really helpful is to look at this, you know, when organizations we're talking to say, well, we can't wait for things to go back to the way they were, that's a problem. it's really important to see this is an opportunity for you to actually emerge from this pandemic in better shape because you have addressed the things, the gaps that have been exposed in this time. So, you know, when you have the intention organizationally from the very top down that you're going to actually use this situation to be in better shape, to be in a more responsive, you know, environment, and where you're continually scanning and seeing this is a time to really be scanning what is changing real time. How do we need to respond organizationally? You have the capacity to transform your organization toward being more responsive and more tuned internally and externally. So, you know, again, this is an all-in process, and it is really important from, you know, C-suite, executive director level to have the intention to use this to be in better shape and do your strategic planning short and long term based on understanding the situation that you're in and what you can do to address it.
And those, you know, what both of you have shared once again is like so on target. You know, I'm thinking about JMT ourselves, and you know, what I shared with the team is we've been hearing the term unprecedented, you know, everywhere. You would very seldom hear that term, and now, you know, just every newscast, articles, they all say unprecedented. And we know it is unprecedented. And I do believe this is an opportunity, and that's what I share with our team. It is absolutely scary, but it is an opportunity, and it has caused, you know, just our company alone for us to look at who we are and how we're serving our clients. And here again, being mission driven, that's front and center. And because that's so front and center, it really guides us and steadies us, if you will, in terms of, okay, what can we do differently? How are we going to do it differently? We know we have to do it differently because we have a new norm now, and we're not going back. The old norm was the old norm, and we know we're not going back. There's going to be a new norm, and so how can we serve better and deliver on our mission all the better in this new norm? And as Emily and, you know, Jackie have both said, it is really difficult because a lot of our staff, this is their first experience with anything like this, and they're scared. They're seeing family members and friends and society in general. They're getting, you know, exposed to these big numbers. So we've really had to internally at JMT take a look at it and say, okay, here's our mission, here's what our finances are, you know, here's who we serve and how we serve. We know our finances are X, so how are we going to manage in this environment? And we've turned around and done, changed our budgeting. We were like most organizations, as an example. We did an annual budget and operating plan. We have now changed our budgeting into a dynamic, monthly rolling 24-month plan. And if anybody had said to us we couldn't do this, or too much work or whatever, you know, I would have agreed with them. And yet we're doing it because we have to. And I think that's the very best part of that, is this creative thinking has come out in the team together to say, okay, what do we need to do here? We created another program to help clients, because so many nonprofits, they had no experience with working from home offices. And so this opportunity here, again, mission driven, we came back and said, okay, how can we help our clients in this regard? What can we do differently? We have to move away or modify that model that we've operated under for years. And it's very, very hard for many of the JMT team. They have been used to, we have, you know, our team members with the company 10, 15, 20 years. They're used to a certain way. And so this change is very difficult, along with all the fear of COVID and what the economy will mean, you know, ultimately. Now they have this change happening in what they thought was, I knew my job. And so here again, being mission driven, we have to think about how we work with our team members and help them through this as well. So
okay. Jackie,
Yep,
did you want to open it up to just 1 or 2 questions, if anyone has any time? Okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if anyone has a question for Jackie Davidoff, Emily Sachs, or Jackie Tiso, please feel free to put it in the chat box and we will answer that on the call. And we can just give a minute to see if anything comes through. And if not, I believe we are at time, so we can.
You can tell
Well,
some more stories if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the only last thing I'd like to share is on the mission driven. If you have decisions that you are faced with, which you absolutely do every day, what I'm doing is I am literally holding it to the JMT mission, and I have it front and center, and I quantify how does this support, you know, is it going to support our mission of being service and support to nonprofits, and how is it going to do that? And it is, I cannot express how much better I am managing decisions when I'm using that as a guide.
Great. Well, I did get one question sent to me that says, to anyone who wants to answer, what are some strategies that can help women achieve a more prominent role in their organization?
I mean, I advise women to take the risk to speak up. Too many times we choose to mute ourselves. I'm in that battle myself daily, and as a small woman, I face that even more. So we, you know, I mentioned earlier the mistaken beliefs that we all walk around with that say, well, you shouldn't, or you're not good enough, and those are all things that are understandable, but we really need to be actively assaulting and challenging those. And the only way that's going to happen is when you take the risk to speak up, to share your voice, and to be interested in, you know, mission drivers are interested in contributing to their organizations. That means you're going to be at risk, and you're more interested in, with that perspective, being respected and respecting yourself instead of being liked. And there is a big difference. Take that in. This is not about you're here to be liked. It's you're here to be respected as a mission driver. So, you know, there's plenty of ways, whether it's doing coaching or having your women cabinet with you as advisors. But I think our world needs us to speak up as women and to show up as women and to not be little girls, but to get that in order for the world to change, which I think we all want it to be more equitable and just and sustainable, we need to be speaking up. Women-oriented values, we lead with values, we lead with our heart, we care, and that's what's going to have our world be different. So that's my open invitation to all the women here and beyond.
And then I'll give a more tactical. I'll give a more tactical answer, which is that if you're in an organization, you could. I would certainly. You know, I don't know what the current version of it is, but do a Zoom. But let's say we go back to working in some sort of office environment, have coffee with some of the leaders. I would certainly ask some people who you admire, would they be willing to have coffee with you? And maybe now it's over Zoom. And what I would try to make your ask would be a stretch project for you. Like maybe you know about it, or maybe you don't, or maybe they haven't even thought about it. But if you can see some leaders, both men and women in your organization, ask for 10 or 15 minutes of their time when it's convenient for them, and say, I'd really like to grow and stretch. And is there a stretch project that you can think about that I could do? And they may not have something, but you've planted that seed in a couple of people's mind. And that's, I think, that one of the ways that helps you to grow and be more visible.
And here again, I'm going to, reinforce with both Jackie and Emily have stated. Number one, definitely speak up. As I mentioned, I started working in the accounting and finance department of a number of nonprofits, and I moved through those organizations because I spoke up. I performed, but I also spoke up. And the networking aspect and identifying a project that you could work on and with someone, huge. And I did it in a manner of, I wanted to expand. I went in and said, I'm looking to do something more. What more can I do to contribute? And my boss gave it to me and said, well, here's something that I don't have time for. We can't get it done. Give it a shot. And, so absolutely both of those, but the speaking up especially, don't mute your voice.
Great. We had one more question, if you guys have just a few more minutes, from Joan regarding the drama triangle. She wants to know if there was a prevalent role that had a higher percentage of kind of being a drama initiator, just out of curiosity.
I think that people tend to react in organizations to authoritarian types of personalities, and there's probably more, I'm just going to guess, more drama associated with, feeling victimized. So it kind of goes both ways. I don't have the scientific answer to that. I think, again, being self-aware and being aware of your emotions is key. Keep it about yourself.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, well, I think that we are going to wrap it up now. So before we all leave, I just want to say a big thank you to Jackie and Emily and Jackie Tiso for being here with us today and sharing your stories and expertise. And also thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope we will leave feeling inspired and ready to continue on as mission leaders. And we won't be going back to the main session, so feel free to just, as you hit leave meeting, just leave the meeting altogether. And thanks so much for being here, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.